So you want to play healer, but you're a bit held back by the extra responsibility that you'll have. Well, today I'll show you that playing healer isn't all that bad, and with a few tips you'll be well on your way to healing most content in the game without too much trouble. So as a healer you have three things that you'll want to do. Keep the party alive, whether that is by healing them enough if you're a regen healer so that they can survive the next raid wipe, or if it's by using enough mitigation like shielding and damage reduction so that they won't take too much damage if you're a barrier healer. What you'll be doing depends on which two of these healer types you're playing. You're also expected to do some DPS, and you'll also have to make up for your party's mistakes. Now, I want to start out with that last point, making up for your party's mistakes, or I should say, trying to make up for your party's mistakes. I feel like the main thing that holds people back from playing healer is that they're afraid to let their party die. Now, if you play it super safe and you're making sure that your party is topped off after every instance of damage, then it will be very hard for your party members to die. And I'm not just talking about easy dungeons here. Even in a lot of savage raids, if you play like that, people will usually survive, but it's a bit excessive to play like that, and you will be wasting a lot of your resources, and there were better things that you could have done with them. However, if this is what it takes for you to feel comfortable on healer, then by all means start out like that, and you'll very soon realize that you don't need to be healing this much, and then you can start dropping some of those GCD heals and start replacing them with damage GCDs instead. Because while healer damage isn't needed to clear dungeons, it will become needed to clear some harder endgame content like savage raids, and even then doing damage in a dungeon is going to make things go a lot smoother. So the earlier you can get used to healing with off global cooldowns and dealing damage with global cooldowns, the better. The reason why this is something to get used to is because at endgame you will be able to heal just about everything with just using your off global cooldown heals. If you're doing 8-man content, then it will require some communication between you and your co-healer, so if you're doing stuff in Party Finder, it won't always be possible, but if you're doing dungeons or you're planning out your healing with your co-healer for Savage, then it is something that is possible, given that your teammates don't make too many mistakes. A mistake here or there you can probably make up for, but once they start making too many mistakes, then you will have to fall back on those GCD heals. And that's exactly what they are, a tool to fall back on when you're out of off-global cooldowns. So use those off-global cooldowns first, and if more healing is needed, you can always throw in 1 or 2 GCD heals if necessary. The reason why this works is because most damage in 14 isn't constant, rather it comes in short bursts or raid wipes. So because there is some time in between these periods of outgoing damage, you have time for your off-global cooldowns to come back off cooldown so that they can be used again on the next raid wipe. And it's because of this that planning your healing will benefit your healer DPS a lot at endgame, because as long as people aren't making mistakes, then the outgoing damage is very consistent. It's also because of this that your experience can vary a lot depending on the skill level of your group. If you're playing with great players that never get hit by AoEs, then you'll have the easiest time healing of your life, because you won't even need to use all of your off-global cooldown tools. But if it's the opposite and they are constantly making mistakes, then healing can feel a bit stressful and you'll run out of off-global cooldowns and will need to heal a lot using your global cooldown healing. But again, if they make a mistake which leads to their death, then that's not on you. You can try your best to try and save them when they do, but if you can't save them, throw them a res and move on. It's not your fault. So start off slow, play it safe while you get used to how much outgoing damage there usually is, and then when you find that your party is doing just fine without you throwing out as many heals as you are, then you can start cutting back on some of the healing that you're doing and start throwing in more DPS when you can, because when you help with DPS, things will die faster, which in turn means that the mobs or the boss have less time to be throwing damage at your team, which then requires you to be healing less, so it's a win-win-win situation. But if you're not comfortable with pushing DPS buttons all the time and relying on your off-global cooldowns to take care of the healing, then you can always make sure that your party is healthy, use global cooldowns if you need to do that, and once that's been taken care of, then you can go back to doing DPS. It's also totally fine, just do what you can. And with that, I think I've said just about everything that I wanted to say, so I want to thank you for watching, I want to thank my Patreons for their support, and I'll see you in the next one.